Hello everyone, welcome to another Crusader's Court. As always, I am Troy, your friendly neighborhood community manager for Crusader Kings, here to talk to you about all things Paradox, Crusader Kings, and just hanging out and talking about things like I always do. With me today I have a special guest, Laureline. Say hi to everyone.
Hi Troy, thank you for having me. Hi everyone. Should I do the little introduction bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So a few of you might know me. I was a community developer on City Skylines, and recently I got given the great opportunity to lead the amazing Paradox community team.
Which means she's my manager.
Yeah.
No sweat. No, I'm not nervous about interviewing my manager or anything. You know, no big deal, right?
No big deal.
No pressure. So yeah,
Manager hat off.
into the corner. Now you just
I do
nodding.
mom's joke, so it's all right.
Dad
We'll
jokes
be
and mom
fine.
jokes. Got
Yeah,
this.
it'll be good.
Dancing through the stream here. So how does it feel now being the manager of all of us motley crew?
Powerful, I'm gonna say. No, I mean, first, I'm very, very happy to be managing the team because I genuinely think that we really have amazing human beings in our team. We are 13, I want to say,
I think now. Yeah.
in the team now, so it's like quite a big team.
It is.
Plus, even more if we count all our community ambassadors that are doing an amazing job as well. Yeah, I think it's humbling to have to manage so many people, and I'm also I'm looking forward for the opportunity to keep supporting Paradox, supporting our community team, and helping every one of you to do your best work and grow in the role, but also try and work together in making our community a safer space, which is really the mission that is the closest to my heart, and that's why really I really enjoyed this new role.
Yeah. No, and you're helping us learn and grow while you're learning and growing yourself.
Exactly.
That's the sign of a good manager. Yeah, and it's really cool to see especially from the Crusader King side, that like at least half of our team were modders.
Yeah.
They were working in mods and actually working on the game for Crusader Kings 2 before they joined the company. And so they joined the company as a junior position, right? Work through the ranks, prove their skills, prove their knowledge as a modder coming into the game company. And then they stepped up into a senior role, and that's how they made it onto that CKIII team, was proving that their knowledge and their worth as a modder and then a junior and then a regular level was enough for them to work on our brand new franchise when CKIII launched. And it's inspiring to me to see that even if you don't have anything to do with our game company to start with, if you have enough passion and you have enough willingness to learn and participate, you can make it into the company and work on the games that you love so much. Yeah,
and I think it's very, very interesting to see that there's no one way to get into the gaming industry. There's like so many paths that can get you there. It can be your personal interest and your just will to learn, to try many things and participate in the community. But like in my case, for example,
what was your path?
Yeah,
in
exactly. It
particular?
was completely different. It was actually the opposite. Like I arrived in the industry completely by accident because coming out of my studies, like I think many other people from the millennial generation, it was hard to find a job.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Whatever the qualification that you might have and all the time you spend at school and whatnot, it was difficult. So I was struggling. And also, in my defense, I also made the decision to move abroad right after my studies.
Oof, yeah.
Without knowing the language. I moved to Germany.
Nice.
I'm French. I didn't speak
I couldn't
German.
tell. I could not tell about the French thing. It was a surprise to me.
I've been said that a lot. You're French? What? Huh?
No, surprise. Was this kind of always where you envisioned yourself, or is this kind of like an evolution of where you want to be?
No, it's not necessarily. I mean, I studied marketing initially. So I studied as a support agent. And I think to me, the question, I mean, for my personal path in the industry, the question is not so much like, how did you manage to get into the industry, but rather, because it was by chance really, And I've never in a million years thought that I would, work in the gaming industry. I didn't even process that it was an industry that one can work in. Right. But it was more what made me stay in the industry.
Yeah.
Like coming from a completely different world. I worked in marketing at L'Oreal, so in cosmetics before. It was completely different, but it was what made me stay, and it was the people, the atmosphere, also the feeling that you work on something that matters.
Right.
Because some people say like, oh, it's entertainment, or like video games are not, important. But I
life necessity.
Exactly. But I beg to disagree. Like for many people, gaming is a very big part of their lives.
Yeah.
For some people, it helps for emotional support. It helps to create bond with other people. I started in a free-to-play brother game that had a big social component. So, it was a game like where you had like alliances and a very, not complex, but like a full life of the game outside of the game, on the forums, etc., etc. And even in game, you had message boards, etc. So you do make friends for life. So compared to and that's my personal opinion, of course, like many people would say like, oh, maybe, working in cosmetics and self-care is very important for people.
Right.
And sure. But it's just that to me, it felt more difficult to align my values and the time and effort that you put into working, because it is still, first it is work, but it's a big part of our lives. I wanted to do something that at the end of the day, I know why I put the effort into.
Yeah.
And so for the gaming industry, I had this feeling that I didn't have before. And on top of that, I always had the chance to work with amazing people, to make great friends. A lot of my friends now I met in the industry.
Yep.
Friend that I have for years and years and years, like because this job I'm talking about, this super job, it was in 2014 that I started, so it's been a while now. But that's.
Don't want to think too hard about that.
Yeah.
How long it's been.
Exactly, but to me, it's not so much how I got there, but why I stayed.
Right, and it's always a journey, right? I started off in customer support, and then I got away from that, and I got into like technical writing and knowledge bases, and I got into like live marketing cycles, and I was like, this is great and all, but I miss interacting with people. I miss seeing the reason that I do what I do every day. And that's why I think community is really like the place for people like us, right? Mm-hmm. Being able to see that difference and feel that difference. You can check in on the forums and be a person that people recognize there and be like, hey, that was me. I did that. I am the community manager. I am the community developer. We did this together, me and you, community. And seeing that ability to like go back and forth with customers is really the reason that I got back into community. And I've been in this industry too long. I don't even want to think about how long I've been.
But even, I assume even working with the CK team, like this sort of synergy between teams. It's not only just between community managers and developers on different projects, but it's also different roles in one project. Yeah. How can we do this synergy? And it's and it has been more difficult.
It has
to really find the right partners internally, to have things moving, and that's that's difficult. But I'm glad to hear that on CK. It's easier.
Yeah. And like I said, working with Dale for future projects and like really seeing Dale's insights, because he's been around longer than the project has been. So seeing like his insights from what happened before the launch, the pre-release, before we even announced CK3.
Yeah.
Right? Because obviously we started working on community before that, and I took over from Rod. Everybody knows Rod. We miss Rod. We love Rod. But seeing his structure in place and like the things that they worked on and the things that they built and put into implementation, into the pre-release, into the launch of the game, and then into the post-launch. It's really interesting to be able to grab hold of that and have that as like a physical, viable idea in your mind. You can see the roadmap and all the branching paths that it took, and then being able to take that, plug it in, and then move on from that and widen the branches is, it was interesting for me beforehand seeing that and really dig into it, and it was fulfilling but then getting Dale, who was there for all those steps as well, and seeing how he thought they went, and hearing like the ideas that may or may not have made it in the pre-launch era, and then seeing how we can shape those into the future is like, huh, this is insight I didn't have. Like I thought I knew pretty much everything there was that went into it from a community standpoint, which I did, but then seeing, you know, this is what somebody that was not directly in the planning for the game thought or felt moving into the future. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I could see all of these being viable, but the path that we took wasn't necessarily either in line with that, or it crossed over a couple times, you know, and there are points that they intersected, but like for the most part, a lot of these ideas are brand new to me and refreshing to hear that it's like, okay, I feel this. I can feel this in my soul, you know, of like where this shape is. And so, like from a community standpoint, just a purely community manager standpoint, it's very fulfilling on a day-to-day basis. But from an overarching developer-manager relationship, it's intriguing to see that there were patterns and paths that we could have taken that we've now kind of picked up the slack from and incorporated without, in some cases, without even knowing that we did it. And it's like, oh, rad. I'm so about this. Let's keep doing things like this where we have 500 ideas, we put 300 of them into launch, and then we stack the rest of the 200 in afterwards. And like, especially, you know, the shape of our roadmap right now with CK3, seeing all the stuff we're working on, the implementations, the bug fixes, our next expansion and DLCs, there's ideas that kind of got pushed by the wayside because they weren't quite right with launch. Influencer projects, community outreach projects, content creator outreach, stuff having to do with modders, that it's like, it was right there. It was so close to fruition, and then it veered off, and it was like, oh, we could have done that. And then seeing it later on, where it's like, oh, this is even better right now with what we have in place than it ever could have been at that point. And so that's what we're working on for the future, is like getting to that point.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing people don't know a lot about community management and development in general. And I'm not just saying like outside of the industry, like on the player side, but even internally, even inside the industry, inside a company, is how much planning and strategy is actually required.
Yeah.
The time ratio, I think, that we spend talking directly with the community compared to all the rest of the planning that we have to do, and project management and understanding the objective, what is the game about, how we can present it, how we can help people on board in the project. Actually talking to the community, I want to say 10% of the job for community developers that are even more remote from the community interactions, because they work harder in the pre-launch phase. It's even less.
Yeah, and it's really unique being a community manager, because it feels like my ambassadors in the community are the shoreline, and then past the shoreline is just a mine-filled, trench-laden battlefield. And so they all sit there on the shore, and they make sure everything is good and everyone's happy. And then I run in through all these trenches and minefields, and I'm like, oh, here's a question for the dev team. Well, I'll take it back, and then run through that same minefield to get back out, and they're like, get the answer. It's like, here you go. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm running through a minefield. I've got so much to do. And, you know, luckily I have a team that very much understands and gets with the flow of things. Yeah. But like it's very much the time where I get to poke my head up and go, oh, the community looks great. You guys are doing a good job. This is all fantastic. Is very small on, I mean, obviously I want to do more of it. I want to see more of the community and the audience, but like being able to poke my head up and be like, everything out here looks fantastic. Anyway, back to my trenches, you know, and then get done with that and come back and like, this is still really nice. Why don't I spend more time out here? Anyway, back into the trenches. But it's also, again, where I want to be, and I think that's very much true of any community manager, is like, there are people that stumble into community management, end up in community management by accident, or province, but like it's one of those, if you can be there and that's something that you want to do, it's so fulfilling at the end of the day. And that's definitely how I think anybody on this team is we all strove to be community managers or community developers, and now we're there. And this is kind of like, we made it. The promised land. We're so happy here. And so it's really nice to see that from a team. But I think that just about does us for today. Laureline, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Little tidbit, he asked me last week if I could participate to the stream. So yeah, of course, but it's a bit stressful. I'm not very used to be on stream. And then I completely forgot. It did not remind me until this morning.
That's right.
Which was brilliant, because then I did not stress about it last night.
Zero stress.
So, that's how I get there. But yeah, anytime. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And thank you for having this platform so we can talk about it.
I'm glad I'm here. You're welcome back anytime.
I will.
Thank you for being a good manager and not,
Thank you.
being awful. We're not going to mention any names because they don't exist at this company, because everyone's a great manager. Bang, done. Hey, thanks guys for being here. And there was one question. What was it? Serious question. Reaching out. Yes, head over to our forums. We do have suggestions. We do read those on a daily basis and pass them on. In the meantime, follow us on social media. Nurgle, thank you so much for taking care of us in the booth. Thank you all at home. Thank you again for being here. Tune in next week. We'll be back, or stick around. We'll be back with our weekly stream in about 15 minutes. Otherwise, have a good week, y'all. Bye.
Thank you, guys and girls.